I dressed slutty at the gym for attention. I didn't know he'd find out and embarrass me. I never thought something so small, something so harmless, could completely turn my life upside down. I mean, it wasn't that serious. It started as a fun little confidence boost, something to spice things up for myself. Nothing more. I wasn't hurting anyone. I wasn't looking for trouble. And yet somehow it became a disaster. I just wanted to feel wanted. Is that such a crime? I wore more revealing outfits to the gym, played around a little, and enjoyed the attention. It was harmless. Just flirting with the idea of being desired, feeling that rush again. It's not like I actually committed some crime or anything. I never thought it would spiral into something that would ruin everything. But life has a nasty way of throwing things back in your face. And my perfect little secret? Yeah, it didn't stay a secret for long. My husband found out. And when he did, God. The way he looked at me, the way his entire demeanor changed, it was like a switch flipped. And that was when I realized he would never see me the same way again. Everyone always said we had the perfect marriage. He was the ideal husband, devoted, reliable, the kind of man other women envied. He made me his priority, always checking in, always spoiling me with his attention. He never wavered, never made me feel like I was anything less than everything to him. But he wasn't just loyal, he was strong. He wasn't the kind of man to be pushed around, to let things slide. He was dominant, decisive, in control. And I used to love that. I did. Until one day I didn't. And before you say it, no, it wasn't just me. It was him too. Something shifted between us, and I don't even know why. Maybe he got too comfortable. Maybe he stopped trying. Maybe he thought just being there was enough. Maybe I wouldn't have even felt this way if he had made me feel wanted the way he used to. Even with a husband who adored me, I started feeling unseen. Maybe it was just the routine of life, the predictability, the way everything felt the same, day after day. Maybe it was watching younger women, hotter women, getting the kind of looks I used to get. And I hated that. My husband told me I was beautiful, but it wasn't enough. Because at some point, his love started to feel suffocating. The same strength and confidence that once made me feel safe started to feel like a cage. Like I was just playing a role in his perfectly controlled life. And I started craving something else. I wanted a reaction. I wanted to turn heads. I wanted to feel powerful again. So yeah, I dressed a little sluttier at the gym. I let my body do the talking. And I liked the way men looked at me. It made me feel alive. It made me feel like I mattered. I had no idea I was about to get caught. And I definitely didn't expect what happened next. I told myself I wasn't doing anything wrong, that it was just a phase, a passing feeling, that it didn't mean anything. I wasn't mad at my husband. I wasn't unhappy in my marriage, but I couldn't ignore the fact that something was missing. I felt it every single day, and I had no idea how to fill it. And so, slowly, the thought crept in. Maybe I just needed to feel seen again. Maybe I just needed a little attention. That wasn't a crime, right? I never used to feel invisible. I used to be the one people looked at. I used to be confident in who I was, in my looks, in the way people responded to me. But then, something shifted. Maybe it was getting older. Maybe it was the way other women always seemed to look better, more put together, more desirable. Maybe it was just the way life dulls you down over time. But suddenly I wasn't special anymore. I wasn't the woman turning heads in a room. And nowhere was that more obvious than at the gym. Those other women, God, they just had it. They walked in and it was effortless. People looked, men noticed, their confidence, their bodies, their presence, it all demanded attention, whether they meant to or not. And me, I felt like nothing, like a background extra in my own life. I wanted to know if I could still have that, if I could still be wanted. So, I made a decision. It wasn't planned. I didn't sit down and plot it out. It just happened. A new outfit. Something tighter, something shorter, something that made me feel different. I told myself it was for me. Just a little boost, something to remind myself that I wasn't past my prime. But deep down, I knew the truth. I wanted eyes on me. I wanted to feel the way I used to, before life, before marriage, before I became just someone's wife. I wasn't doing anything wrong. I was just wearing what made me feel sexy, powerful, noticed. It was harmless. But even as I told myself that, there was something lurking in the back of my mind. I knew my husband wouldn't approve. I knew if he saw me, he'd be furious. And that thought, it annoyed me. Why should he care? He had me. I was still his wife. But was I supposed to just disappear? So, I shoved the guilt down. I told myself it was no big deal. A little ego boost, a tiny rebellion, nothing serious. I had no idea how quickly it would spiral. The first time I changed into my new gym outfit, I felt weird, uncomfortable even. I had always dressed simply, baggy shirts, practical leggings, nothing attention-grabbing. But now I was in something different. The shorts hugged me a little too well, the top clung to my curves, and for a second, I almost changed back. But then I walked into the gym, and the second I stepped inside, I felt it. The shift. The way people's eyes flicked toward me. The way I wasn't invisible anymore. The attention was almost immediate. It wasn't anything obvious. No one catcalling, no one staring openly. But I noticed it. The subtle shifts. The quick glances. The way certain men who had never even looked in my direction before suddenly seemed more aware of me. It wasn't my imagination. I saw the way their eyes flicked toward me, the double takes, the small but noticeable changes in their posture. And God, did it feel good? Better than I expected. It was like stepping into the sunlight after being in the dark for so long. I had spent years feeling like I was just there. But now, I was seen. At first, I told myself it was harmless. It wasn't like I was doing anything wrong. It wasn't like I was actually engaging with them, flirting outright, or crossing any lines. I was just existing in a way that made me feel desirable again. And honestly, why shouldn't I? But the shame was there, lurking under the surface. I could push it down, ignore it, pretend it didn't exist, but every time I saw a man looking at me, my husband flashed through my mind. His face, his voice, his touch, it all made the guilt creep in. I knew he wouldn't approve. I knew he'd be upset. But I kept telling myself, so what? I wasn't doing anything. And then, one afternoon, it changed. I was mid-set, doing squats when I felt it. That heavy, lingering stare, not just a passing glance, not just a subtle look, a full-on confident gaze. I glanced up and there he was, a man, watching me, unashamed. He didn't even pretend to look away when I caught him. He just held my gaze for a second, smirked slightly, then went back to whatever he was doing. And suddenly the power shifted. I felt flustered, excited, maybe even a little nervous, because for the first time, it was real. It wasn't just some vague idea in my head. Someone had noticed me, really noticed me, and then he started showing up. Or maybe I just started noticing him more. At first, it was nothing, just happening to be in the same space, happening to glance my way. But then, it became intentional. He lingered nearby, found reasons to talk to me, a casual comment about the weights, a small nod in my direction, a smirk when he caught me looking back. I didn't encourage it, not really, but I didn't shut it down either, because why should I? I wasn't cheating. I wasn't doing anything wrong. I was just enjoying the attention. But deep down, I knew. I felt the danger of it because I started looking for him, wondering if he'd be there. My heart beat a little faster when I spotted him. I even started timing my workouts just to increase the chance of seeing him. And with that excitement came the fear. I started watching my back. Did anyone else notice? Did people see how he looked at me? How I smiled when he was near? I couldn't shake the paranoia that someone would tell my husband, but that didn't stop me, because no one had to know. It was just a little attention, a little harmless fun, right? A voice in my head screamed that I was playing a dangerous game, but I ignored it. The guilt was always there, gnawing at me, whispering that I was risking everything for a fleeting thrill, but I kept coming back. Because it felt too good. Because I hadn't felt this alive in years. Because deep down, I convinced myself that as long as it didn't go too far, I could control it. I was wrong. So wrong? I don't even know what I was thinking. Maybe I wasn't thinking at all. It started small. After an especially intense workout, I lingered in the locker room longer than usual, knowing he was still there. When I saw him near the showers, I didn't turn away. I didn't walk out. I let my gaze linger just a second too long, and he noticed. The next thing I knew, he followed me. The gym had private showers, a door that locked, and before I knew it, we were inside. We had barely spoken, but there was an understanding, a thrill in knowing what we were doing was wrong. And that's what made it so intoxicating. My heart hammered in my chest as the water ran over us. His hands were on me, pulling me against him, mouths colliding, sloppy, desperate, reckless. I was drowning in the rush of it, lost in the thrill. I wasn't going to apologize for finally having fun. For the first time in years, I felt wanted, desired, alive. And why shouldn't I? Hadn't I spent enough time being the perfect wife? The loyal wife? The woman who put her husband's needs first, only to be met with complacency? With a man who took me for granted, who assumed I would always be there, no matter how invisible he made me feel? No. I was done waiting for his validation. The gym had become my playground, a place where I controlled the attention, where I dictated the terms. The more I indulged, the bolder I became. At first, it was subtle, a slightly tighter sports bra, shorts that rode up a little higher when I moved, a stretch held just a second too long in front of the right audience. Then, I stopped pretending. I wanted the stairs. I thrived on them. I let my outfit speak for me, barely there shorts that showed every curve, tops that left nothing to the imagination, and I knew he was watching. The man I had made out with in the showers. He was obsessed now. Wherever I went, his eyes followed, and I loved it. It made me feel powerful, knowing I could make him sweat with a single glance, that I could toy with his self-control and he would let me. I stopped caring if people noticed. They should notice. I deserved to be noticed. That afternoon, I was in my element. I had dressed for attention. A sports bra so tiny it barely covered me, shorts that weren't doing their job at all. And he was there, waiting, watching. We had already crossed the line, so why stop? I was in the middle of a very suggestive workout, my body positioned deliberately, his hands hovering just a little too close, our laughter too intimate, when the air changed. The energy in the gym shifted. A heavy, dominant presence entered the room, and I felt it before I even saw him. I froze, slowly, terrified. I turned my head, and there he was, my husband, standing there, watching, seething. The room fell silent. No music, no movement, just the slow, controlled rise and fall of his chest. I had never seen him like this. His jaw was clenched so tight I thought it might break. His shoulders squared, his entire body radiating pure dominance, and his eyes black with fury. The gym guy beside me shifted nervously. My husband's gaze flicked to him for 1 second, just one. And that was all it took. The guy practically flinched, his confidence vanishing as he took a step back, suddenly realizing he had just made the biggest mistake of his life. But my husband wasn't here for him. He was here for me. Stand up. His voice was calm, too calm. I didn't move. I couldn't. I was frozen in place, my body betraying me as the full weight of the moment crushed down on me. So he stepped forward, closer. The entire gym was watching, and he didn't care. He reached down, grabbed my wrist with an authority that sent a shiver through my body, and pulled me up. The silence was suffocating. We're leaving? A command, not a request. His grip was firm, but not harsh. It wasn't about force, it was about control, and I had just lost all of mine. I glanced around, eyes everywhere, judgment everywhere. The men who used to glance at me looked away. The women who once envied me now pitied me. And the worst part? He never even raised his voice. He didn't need to. He had already won. Because no matter how much I had played, how much I had wanted to feel powerful in this moment, I was nothing. It was a stupid, reckless, impulsive thing. The thrill of it sent a rush through my veins. My heart pounded as he leaned in, close enough that I could feel his breath on my skin. "Are you sure?" he murmured, his voice low and full of promise. And instead of running, instead of pushing him away, I let him inside me. The warm spray of the water, his hands gripping my waist, the electricity surging between us, it was dizzying. My mind screamed that this was wrong, that I was crossing a line I could never uncross, but my body thrived on it. For once, I wasn't just a wife, a partner, someone's responsibility. I was just a woman, wanted, desired. And then, as fast as it happened, it was over. We pulled away, breathless, knowing we had gone too far. I stepped back, my fingers brushing against my lips, my heart still racing. What the hell had I done? The car ride was silent. Not the kind of silence where things felt unresolved but fixable. Not the kind of silence that invited conversation or even an argument. This was absolute, cold, final. My stomach twisted as I sat there, barely dressed, my heart pounding. I knew better than to speak first. I stole a glance at him, but he didn't even look at me. His grip on the wheel was tight, his jaw clenched, and the way he drove, calm, unhurried, in complete control, only made the dread worse. Where are we going? I finally asked, forcing my voice to sound small, innocent. No answer. My skin prickled. I recognized these streets. This wasn't the way home. I swallowed. This isn't... Then he laughed. Laughed. Like I had just told the funniest joke in the world. Like the very idea of me thinking he'd take me back home was so pathetic it was amusing. Something inside me snapped. I turned toward him, my voice rising with desperation. Where are you taking me? He finally looked at me, and my whole body went cold. Where do you think? He said, voice low, measured, but soaked in disappointment. My throat closed up. No. Not there? My pulse started racing. I shook my head. No, please, not my parents' house, I whispered. I could already see it. My family, the perfect image of morality, of tradition. My mother, my father, both of them raised on respect, honor, duty. And me? I was about to be delivered to them like a disgrace. I reached for his arm, gripping it. Please, I begged, my voice breaking. They won't understand. You know how they are. This will ruin... He ripped his arm away, his face blank. You should have thought about that before. I gasped, shaking my head. Please, I'll do anything. Just don't take me there like this. I gestured at my barely there gym clothes, my makeup still smudged, my hair a mess. But he didn't care. I had humiliated him in public. Now it was my turn. I felt the car slow, turning onto a road that made my stomach drop. The driveway. Number. I grabbed his arm again, desperation clawing up my throat. Please, just let me go home and change first. Just give me 5 minutes. I'll do anything. He didn't even glance at me as he parked. Then he got out and walked around the car. My heart pounded. He opened my door, and I froze. Get out. My lips trembled. I can't... He leaned in. Close. His voice lowered. You should have thought about that before you spread your legs for validation. A small, strangled sound left my throat. I wanted to die. Tears filled my eyes, but I bit my lip, refusing to let them fall. Not in front of him. Not when he already thought I was pathetic. Out, I hesitated. Then, my mother's voice. From the porch. Calling my name. Oh, God. I scrambled out of the car just as my mother stepped closer, her eyes locking onto me, my exposed body, my messy hair, my guilty face. And her expression changed, from warmth to realization to horror. And that was when I knew. I was done. Update. Rock bottom. The conclusion arrived sooner than I had anticipated, yet it seemed like I had been expecting it all along. The divorce papers, marking the official beginning of the end of our marriage. Seeing his name there on those documents, the same name I had once written next to mine with so much love and hope, broke me in ways I couldn't even express. But there was no yelling, no long dramatic argument, just silence. The kind of silence that was final, the kind that sealed a fate. I was forced to confront the reality of what I had done, the life we built together, the home we shared, the memories that once felt so secure. All of it was slipping away, and I had no one to blame but myself. And there was no alimony, no settlement, no financial cushion, no safety net, nothing. Because I cheated. Because in the eyes of the law, in the eyes of everyone, I was the one who burned our marriage to the ground. I had nothing. Now I was sleeping on my friend's couch, job hunting with no luck, no qualifications, no real experience, no talent. I had spent so much time being a wife, a kept woman, thinking I would never have to worry about standing on my own. I had relied on my looks, my charm, the comfortable life my husband provided. But none of that mattered now. Because now, when I walked into interviews, I had nothing to offer. Now when I sent out applications, no one even called back. Now when I looked in the mirror, I wasn't special. I was a nobody. The friends who once gushed about how lucky I was, they disappeared. The ones who admired my confidence and told me how great I looked at the gym, now they whispered behind my back. No one wanted to be associated with the woman who destroyed her own marriage for a few compliments. And worst of all, I didn't even get the attention I craved. I was alone, drowning in the wreckage of my own choices, and this time, no one was coming to save me.